Let's talk about the transmission or propagation of sound. Will you be able to hear sound coming from a closed chamber with very little air, such that the chamber can be regarded as almost in vacuum state? Many students will say, absolutely not. They believe that sound cannot propagate when there is no air, for example in a vacuum, or when very little air is available, even if other media are present. Do you agree with them? Let us find the answer to this question using the bell jar setup. We have here a bell jar lying on a metal base and connected to a vacuum pump. A ring-like rubber is placed at the contact points between the bell jar and the base. This is to help seal the edges of the bell jar when air is sucked out from it. A microphone is placed near the bell jar to detect even a faint sound coming from the handphone. Listen to the sound coming from the handphone when air of 1 atmosphere is still inside the bell jar. Now I switched on the vacuum pump to take out the air from the bell jar. Let us wait for about 3 minutes. I will turn the valve at the side of the base to prevent passage of air. What do you think will happen when I switch off the vacuum pump? The valve is now opened to allow air to enter the jar. Can you hear the ringing of the phone? What happens to the loudness of the sound as more and more air goes into the bell jar? Can you explain what has just happened? Sound transmission from the phone to the wall of the bell jar was prevented by hanging the phone on a string. When most of the air was sucked out from the bell jar, only a few air molecules were left to fill the jar. The average distance covered by an air molecule between successive collisions with other molecules increases to more than a few centimeters. Given these conditions, the air left inside the jar could not efficiently transmit the sound from the phone. You must also take note that the jar need not be in a complete vacuum state for the ringing of the handphone to be inaudible. What do you think will happen if the phone is placed on the metal base and we repeat the demonstration? Many students believe that the sound from the phone cannot be heard outside the bell jar. Do you agree with them? Let's see what happens. Air is pumped out again from the bell jar. After about 3 minutes, I will close the valve at the side of the base to block the passage of air. I will now switch off the vacuum pump. With very little air left inside the bell jar, can you hear the sound from the ringing phone? Let's see how tightly sealed the bell jar is. The pressure inside is still much lower than 1 atmosphere. The valve is now opened to allow air to enter the jar. Can you hear the ringing of the phone? Oops, the pressure inside is still much lower than 1 atmosphere. What exactly happened? The transmission of sound from the phone to the metal base and then to the air outside the bell jar allows the sound from the phone to be heard outside the bell jar. This happens even if most of the air inside the bell jar was pumped out. Next time you see a bell jar setup, please remember that air is not the only medium for sound transmission. Sound can also be transmitted through other media. Even with very little air or without air, sound can propagate as long as other media are present.